This piece of equipment is quite good that it's called a money bag, but its actual function is an amplification item that if you put 5 gold coins into it, it can increase attack power by 5%. Anya saw Fang Hao staring blankly at her money bag and said pitifully, "I got this, and I watched them work all day. It was really hard." Her tone and expression were like a child whose candy had been snatched away. That it was rare to see such an expression on Anya's face. Fang Hao took out 5 gold coins, put them directly into the money bag, and instructed, "This is your New Year's money. Don't go gambling with it." Seeing Fang Hao give her money, Anya's face instantly broke into a joyful smile. "I haven't played that stuff for a long time. I'm learning to play chess with Nelson now," Anya said while eating. She then asked, "Oh right, what is New Year's money?" She always heard some strange and quirky words from Fang Hao. "It's money you can't spend. It suppresses unlucky things and only brings good luck," Fang Hao explained casually. "Oh, then what if I want to buy something? Didn't I give you pocket money already?" Anya giggled foolishly and continued eating. The next day, early morning, Fang Hao woke up early and left his room to wash up. As soon as he stepped out of the Lord's mansion, the maids greeted him one after another. Speaking of maids, as the territory developed and various buildings increased, and with his subsequent plan to open a shop in Lysith City, the maids in the territory were starting to become insufficient. Whether it was the bunny maids or the fox maids, Fang Hao was quite satisfied. High appearance value, obedient. Most importantly, their learning ability was relatively high. Whether they were learning cooking from ear or helping out at the tailor shop, the bunny maids could quickly learn and then get to work. Similarly, the maids also liked Fang Hao's territory very much. They no longer had to go hungry, nor did they need to live in iron cages full of grease. Fang Hao provided them with everything they needed for life, and he was not as terrible as the human nobles were rumored to be. This place was better and more comfortable than anywhere they had lived before. In fact, Fang Hao was the ideal choice for all the maids. They hoped that one day, they would be chosen by Fang Hao to become close personal maids like Ear. Fang Hao did a simple inspection of the territory. He started his daily aerobic exercise, running, push-ups, and some combat moves he had been learning these past few days. He practiced from start to finish and started to sweat. After exercising, Ear was still preparing breakfast. Fang Hao stood in front of the Lord's mansion and found that the required materials for upgrading the Lord's mansion were complete. He could further increase the level of the Lord's mansion. Level 7 Lord's Stone Building. Tough wood 5,200. Stone bricks 7,000. Iron 700. Metal parts 520. The required materials for the level 7 stone building had begun to be replaced with higher level materials. Upgrade. The Lord's stone building was enveloped in light, gradually increasing the scale of the building. It took a full 20 minutes. When the light dissipated, the upgrade was complete. Level 7 Lord's stone building belonging Lord Fang Hao abilities. Production and gathering plus 3.5%. Unit movement plus 3.5%. All attributes plus 2%. Existing buildings. Level 6 underground cemetery. Level 6 stables. Note: territory core building. Materials required for upgrade. Tough wood 8,500. Stone bricks 11,000. Iron 950. Metal parts 750. Terracotta tiles 1,200. The Lord's Hall expanded again based on its original foundation. It was increasingly approaching a stone castle with a Western style. If he wanted to upgrade from level 7 to level 8, a new building material called terracotta tiles appeared. He had seen terracotta tiles in his previous world, but he hadn't encountered them in this world. To upgrade to level 8. Terracotta tiles were the next target to acquire. After upgrading the Lord's Stone building, Fang Hao continued to upgrade the other buildings consecutively, raising all of them to level 7. He was trying his best to increase the overall strength within the territory. "Good morning, my lord." Just then, Duojin walked over from behind and bowed slightly. "Good morning, Duojin," Fang Hao greeted with a smile. Currently, the territory had undead, orcs, lizard men, and Fang Hao himself was human. Everyone lived together in this city. But unexpectedly, it was harmonious, just as the goblin cashier had said. He had never heard of these races living together in one city and being at peace. "My lord, I have an order here that requires your assistance." Duojin stated his purpose. Oh, what kind of order? Fang Hao asked curiously. Duojin handed over the order he was holding. That designated order requirement. Troll heavy armor 1000. Troll iron helmet 1000. Troll combat boots 1000. Adzes 3000. Trade gains 510,000 war coins. Troll influence plus 10. It was a troll order. The same type of order had been sold to the trolls once before. This time, the designated order appeared again, confirming that it was the same troll tribe that purchased equipment last time. The equipment in the warehouse isn't enough. Do I need to craft some? Fang Hao asked. Yes, my lord. All right, let's go to the warehouse. The two headed to the Merchant Alliance building and accepted the order. Then they went to the warehouse to craft the equipment ordered by the trolls. After crafting was complete, the skeleton merchant would take the troll equipment to deliver the goods. After chatting with Duojin for a while and confirming there were no other special matters, he walked out of the Merchant Alliance building. Master Ear, Sister Ear is calling you for breakfast. A bunny maid ran over, her impressive chest bouncing significantly. Fang Hao was even afraid that the inertia from the up and down movement would make her trip and fall. What's the rush? Don't run and fall, Fang Hao said. Master, we drank the potion, and Sister Ear told us to exercise more to strengthen our bodies so we can help you better, the bunny maid said, adjusting her breathing. So she was running and incidentally informing Fang Hao. You drank a stamina potion? Fang Hao asked curiously. During this time, the Merchant Alliance had successively received orders from 2 alchemists. Some of the potions obtained were successively distributed to the maids below as for the bunny maid in front of him. Fang Hao had some impression of her. She was over 1.5 meters tall, and even when she was a slave, unable to eat her fill or dress warmly. Her face was still round, a doll face. Her big ears were the white lop-eared kind, fluffy. Yeah, how about it, master? Can you see if I've become stronger? The maid swung her fist. He didn't see if she had become stronger, but Fang Hao knew that he needed to have Sawyer make some underwear for the maids, just like this. So empty, he wondered if it would affect their normal development. Orc Warrior, Tier 3. Checking her attributes. She really had reached Tier 3. Among the bunny maids, her improvement was considered fast. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Amazing. Keep up the good work, but don't tire yourself out. Fang Hao walked towards the Lord's mansion, gently rubbing her little head. After breakfast, just after breakfast, Sawyer took out the finished dress sample. The sample is tried on during the white cloth stage before the finished product. White cloth doesn't necessarily mean the fabric is white, but it's the initial style to see if it fits. While trying on the sample, modifications can also be made to the fabric, lace, and buttons. Sawyer's dress being finished so suddenly forced Fang Hao to change his plans for today. He decided to take his team directly to Lich's city so the city lord's wife could try on the sample. Speeding up the dress process also speeds up his plan to open a store in Lich's city. After deciding to go to Lich's city, Fang Hao called for Ear and Bloodhunt. After giving instructions about the territory, he left the territory with Anya and Demeter, the southern fortress. He mounted the swift purple-scaled horses with 20 greatsword infantry, this time. The storage function of the Lord's book played an important role. All the heavy burden of the entire team's supplies was put into the storage space by Fang Hao. This greatly reduced consumption during the journey. The reason the Tabak caravan took 2 days last time was largely due to the slow movement of goods. Let's go. Fang Hao waved his hand, and the team quickly got onto the main road. Demeter and Fang Hao sat on the giant lizard, while Anya rode her own purple-scaled horse, named Zijian. That he didn't know if it would have the same name as any other heroes in the future. The team's speed was extremely fast, with the sound of hooves and the whistling wind in their ears. In just a few minutes, when he looked back, the fortress was already out of sight. Demeter controlled the giant lizard, and Fang Hao sat in the back. He opened the Lord's book, planning to check the regional channel to pass the time. As soon as he opened it, he found a private message. He hadn't seen it before because he was busy. Boss Fang Hao, the trolls have sent you a designated order here. Please make it when you see it. The speaker was Su Yang, the lord who connected him with the trolls. The message was sent an hour ago. It should have been when Duojin sent him the order. After thinking for a moment, Fang Hao still replied, Just saw it. The order has been completed. Su Yang's reply was quite fast. Boss Fang Hao, the goods have been received. Are the trolls consuming so much? They only ordered once last time. Why is there still so much equipment this time? Fang Hao asked curiously. The same equipment, the same quantity. Alas, don't mention it. The trolls lost a battle a while ago, and many people from various tribes died. Now the troll tribes are blaming each other, causing considerable chaos. They are all stocking up on equipment. I think there's going to be internal strife. Su Yang said a lot, looking worried that if the trolls started fighting internally, he would also be endangered. He was originally attached to the trolls as a slave leader, and if the situation became chaotic, he would also suffer. That Su Yang's words suddenly reminded Fang Hao of the Bloody Mountains last time. The Bloodthroat tribe led the trolls of various tribes to attack him. Over 100,000 trolls died there. These details were somewhat similar to the troll tribes described by Su Yang. Of course, Fang Hao didn't directly ask if the trolls were in the Bloody Mountains, and Su Yang was not necessarily reliable. After thinking for a moment, he directly said, you should also be careful. Tell the trolls that I have many other supplies for sale here, and they can buy from me if they are willing. Oh, okay. I will convey it to the trolls. After ending the chat with Su Yang, Fang Hao also kept this matter in mind. In the future, he could pay attention to Su Yang's side. If there were really problems within the Bloody Mountains, he could also take the opportunity to counterattack in one fell swoop. Eliminate this unstable factor. On the road, a lord wearing a plaid shirt was stroking the warhorse he was sitting on. The gray mane was a little droopy, but he still stroked it with satisfaction. That he bought it from a traveling merchant, and it cost him 50 war coins. That he knew the merchant had asked for a high price, but he still bought it and was very satisfied. This time, he was riding his mount and taking his soldiers to hunt in the forest ahead. The plaid shirt lord took out the lord's book and sent the photo he had just taken of his precious horse to the regional channel. Looking at the envy expressed in the channel, the smile on his face grew wider and wider. Wait, the lord suddenly stopped the advancing team. My lord, what's wrong? The soldier asked curiously. The scenery around the corner is nice. Take a photo of me there. Just point the book at me and press here. After speaking, he sat on the horse by the roadside and struck a handsome pose. Tap, tap, tap. Just then, rapid hoofbeats suddenly came from behind. Just as the few people looked back in confusion, they saw several purple horses, with the sound of whistling wind, passing by in front of them. They were as beautiful as sapphires, tall in stature, and exceptionally beautiful when running. The plaid shirt lord was mesmerized, but the horse he was sitting on was quite startled. With a neigh, its front legs rose high. It directly threw him off, and he fell to the ground in a state of disarray. The soldier quickly soothed the horse and helped him up. The plaid shirt lord snatched the lord's book and took several photos of the purple horse team that had already gone far. He immediately sent them to the regional channel. Image purple horses, like a purple lightning bolt. Too fast. In the regional channel. Did you take it with a landline? Can you make it any blurrier? Is this a Qilin? Or some kind of magical beast? There's no horse that's strong. It's a horse. It passed right by me. Besides being purple and having a large body, it's exactly the same as a horse, the plaid shirt emphasized. Then why didn't you take a frontal shot? I have to be able to catch up. By the time I opened the camera, it had already run this far. Even if it's a horse, it's a special breed. I also want such a beautiful horse. This is my second wish after a beautiful female creature, a purple horse. Have you considered the person upstairs a purple mare? Then both wishes can be fulfilled. Damn, you're amazing. If there are centaurs, it's okay. I can't accept pure horses. So picky. Closing the regional chat, the soldier also led the startled horse over. My lord, it has been soothed. You can take the photo now. The plaid shirt lord glanced in the direction the purple cavalry had left and shook his head slightly, not taking it. What's there to take? Fang Hao didn't pay attention to the chat in the channel. As dusk approached, Fang Hao and the others finally arrived at Lich's city. The purple-scaled horses were panting heavily, their bodies covered in sweat. They had been running without stopping the whole way. And even the purple-scaled horses with their super endurance were a little exhausted. The city guard post. They showed their travel permits and entered the city directly. After booking rooms at the inn, Fang Hao immediately went to the Lord's mansion with Anya. It wasn't too late yet. Much earlier than when Rebecca summoned the merchants last time. So she shouldn't be sleeping and resting yet. Mr. Fang Hao, the madam is attending an important banquet tonight. I will convey the news of your arrival. In front of the city lord's mansion, the servant spoke. Standing at the entrance of the city lord's mansion, Fang Hao looked at the respectful servant. He really came at a bad time. Rebecca had actually gone to a banquet. That's right. People in this era can't scroll through their phones. And there aren't many forms of entertainment at night. Nobles tend to hold more dances and banquets. Can she return tonight? Fang Hao asked again that if he could settle things tonight, he could return to his territory tomorrow morning, making full use of his time. Sir, I'm not sure when the mistress will return. You can stay in the city for a night. And perhaps the mistress will arrange for someone to notify you tomorrow. The servant maintained a polite smile that it seemed he wouldn't be able to see Rebecca tonight, even if she returned. It would be late at night, and the possibility of her seeing him was very small. All right then, please convey my message when the city lord's wife returns, Fang Hao said courteously. Yes. Leaving the city lord's mansion with Anya. The sky was now dark. Occasionally, there were residents returning home, but the streets were somewhat empty. Where are we going next? Anya asked curiously. They had been rushing all the way, and were somewhat tired. Let's go sit in the tavern for a bit. Okay. The two arrived at the tavern and pushed the door open. A blast of alcohol fumes and noise greeted them. You're here. What would you like to drink? The boss walked over. It seemed he had some impression of the two. Beer, meatballs, and a plate of smoked meat. Fang Hao ordered a few items casually. All right, just a moment. The boss wiped his hands and went to the back kitchen to have the chef prepare the food. Fang Hao's gaze fell on the notice board nearby. On the notice board, in addition to the usual scattered resident bounties, there was a map hanging. The last time he came, because the Lisis army was clearing out the mountain bandits along the way. The tavern didn't have a map. Today's luck was pretty good. Map. Mountain stronghold category. Single-page map. Description. A map drawn by an adventurer, recording the route and terrain of the mountain stronghold. Interested in the map? 3 gold coins apiece. You can take your team and try your luck, the boss said, bringing the poured beer to the two. The small dishes they ordered were also successively brought out from the back kitchen. Only one. This one was brought in yesterday. There were some maps of mountain bandit strongholds before, but they were all cleared by the Lisis army, the boss replied. That's good. Clearing out the mountain bandits makes it safer for residents and traveling merchants. Lisis city's management was much stricter than Pearl City. Pearl City didn't have a good way to deal with mountain bandits and wasn't very willing to manage these matters. They just went through the motions, leaving it to mercenaries to handle. On the other hand, Lisis would carry out encirclement and suppression campaigns every year, controlling the number of mountain bandits. This was also a good thing for the residents and nearby affiliated villages. The boss smiled faintly and said, mountain bandits are like rats. You chase them, they run. You turn around, and they bite you. That's how it is. That's true. I'll take this map. I'll pay for it when I settle the bill. No rush. Eat slowly. After the boss took down the map and handed it to Fang Hao, he went to attend to other customers. Fang Hao and Anya also chatted in low voices while eating dinner. With this scar of mine, isn't that enough for you to buy me a drink? At a table not far away, a disheveled drunkard was speaking loudly. Come on, Hodge. Last time you said it was a vampire bite. Now it's a knife scar. Another drunkard at the table retorted. And the others also waited to watch the show. Hodge came every day, telling strange stories or boasting about his past. Everyone knew it was fake. But it was just a drink, and they usually bought him one. But today, Hodge had been sitting in the tavern for too long, and no one was willing to keep buying him drinks. That's because I was drunk. I've made contributions to humanity. If it weren't for us, vampires would have been rampant, sucking the blood of living people everywhere, Hodge said indignantly, as if he had suffered a great injustice. Come on, look at you. Fang Hao looked at the arguing people in front of him and recognized the disheveled old Hodge. The last time he and Anya came, this blurry-eyed old drunkard was boasting about having killed vampires and having made a very effective arrow for killing them. But looking at the attitude of the others, it seemed old Hodge was just an old drunkard who only knew how to boast. This time, he didn't expect to meet him again, still staggering and shouting loudly. Buy him a drink. Put it on my tab, Fang Hao said. The boss followed Fang Hao's gaze to Hodge, poured a glass of beer, and sent it over, not far away. Hodge took the beer and looked at the young man who had bought him a drink. He staggered over. Kid, have we met? Hodge reeked of alcohol, which even covered up the smell on his body. I saw you once last time. That time you were talking about being bitten by a vampire, Fang Hao said with a smile. Right, you want to hear my story? I'll show you my wound. Hodge pulled open his collar, revealing his shoulder. Fang Hao gave a wry smile. Last time you said it was your arm. Right. It was my arm. It was your left hand. Right. My left hand. Hodge rolled up the sleeve of his left hand again, paused slightly, and said, Kid, you don't believe what I'm saying? It doesn't matter, it's just a story. Whether it's true or false isn't that important. This isn't a story. Those monsters who have abandoned their beliefs have forgotten that they were once human. And I don't know how many people they've killed. Hodge sat beside Fang Hao, drinking heavily. Were they once human? Who knows? I've never seen a true bloodline. Those we killed, and those who killed us are all monsters that changed later. This reminded Fang Hao of the pale bloods he had encountered, and the twilight revelers in the stories. They were originally human, and becoming a bloodline was their goal. So, you really killed vampires? Of course it's true. How else do you think I got this wound? You improve the arrows and can effectively kill vampires? Yes, those guys' blood has changed. They are extremely sensitive to silver, as sensitive as those in the alley corner. Cough, cough. You two are still young. You can't listen to this stuff. Hodge stopped his later words. Do you have the blueprint? Let me see. Hearing Fang Hao ask for the blueprint, old Hodge was stunned again that he hadn't realized this kid was an expert. Knowing to use blueprints to distinguish the truth of his story, that he patted his chest and said, I really do. I designed and improved it myself. I'm just afraid you won't recognize its value. Then where's the blueprint? Didn't bring it. I'll give it to you next time. Hodge pushed his glass towards the boss. Another one. Put it on his tab. The two debated for a long time with the blueprint as the topic. Burp. Kid, you're good. When you come next time, I'll bring you the blueprint and let you broaden your horizons. After saying that, he staggered away, hiccuping. Fang Hao watched his departing back. It seemed he had really met a swindler, who had conned him out of several drinks. Do you want me to go out and beat him up? Anya looked out the window at the empty street, that if they went out now and found a quiet place, beat him up, no one would know who did it. Forget it. It's just a few drinks. After settling the bill with the boss, Fang Hao ordered a few portions of smoked meat to put in his storage space and returned to the inn to rest. Early the next morning, the sunlight streamed through the window. Waking Fang Hao, he shielded his eyes with his hand and sat up. Thump, thump, thump. The inn waiter's voice came from outside the door. Mr. Fang Hao. After the attendant delivered the message, he left directly. Fang Hao got up and did some simple washing. He took out the prepared clothes from the Lord's book. Since he was going to the city Lord's mansion, he still needed to dress decently. After washing up, he went to the next room, woke up in Jia, who was still in bed, had dinner in the lobby on the first floor, and then headed to the city Lord's mansion. City Lord's mansion, back courtyard. Sir, just ahead. The servant of the city Lord's mansion led the way. The two walked along the shaded path, gradually entering the depths of the courtyard, passing through the path. Before their eyes was a beautiful pond, surrounded by beautiful flowers and plants in full bloom, with butterflies and small birds flying around. Unafraid, even when people passed by, beside the mirror-like pond, Rebecca was sitting on a white rocking chair, reading a book in the sunlight. The rocking chair swayed, and her white gauze dress and fair bare feet gently followed the motion. What man could resist a woman like this? Madam, Mr. Fang Hao has arrived. The servant spoke softly. Rebecca put the book in her hand aside, and her gaze fell on Fang Hao. You arrived last night. Yes, Madam Rebecca. Fang Hao replied with a smile. Rebecca stood up, her bare feet stepping on the grass, and said, Is the sample dress finished? Let me see how it is. I hope your design can be well presented. Of course. Fang Hao took out the finished sample dress and stood aside. The maid next to her stepped forward and served. Rebecca, in taking off her clothes, revealing her fair and full figure, full of charm. Fang Hao smiled, openly and righteously feasting his eyes. She put on the sample dress. Rebecca walked to the edge of the pond, looked at her reflection in the water, and observed carefully. The blue dress tightly wrapped around her body, showcasing the beautiful lines of a woman. Her beautiful neck and plump, fair arms like lotus roots were exposed from the sleeveless dress. Although she hadn't yet worn any accessories, she was already beautiful and moving. The tight dress lifted her full bust, making it high and ample. Her rounded hips, combined with the slightly tight waist, highlighted the curve of her waist and hips, especially the bold short skirt design in the front, paired with white stockings, added a touch of sexiness to the dignified and elegant city lord's wife. She had wanted to offer some of her own opinions, but seeing the dress reflected in the water, she was afraid that her lack of professionalism would affect the effect of the dress. This was just a sample dress, and it had already made her very satisfied. Noticing that Fang Hao was also looking at her, she smiled and turned around, asking, "How is it? Are there any areas that need modification?" Compared to herself, she now trusted Fang Hao's opinion more. "It's perfect, Madam Rebecca. It makes you even more charming." Fang Hao praised that Rebecca's originally dignified face flushed slightly. She gave the black-haired young man before her a look, then smiled again. "Then I must be careful. Don't change your orientation back, or I'll be at a disadvantage." There was a cloth merchant in the city with great design concepts. This cloth merchant was completely a man's body with a woman's heart that he liked everything about women, including handsome men. The previous few dresses were also chosen by this cloth merchant to design clothes for Rebecca. Fang Hao smiled slightly, without offering much explanation. At this moment, the servant carried a tall mirror and walked over, placing it on the grass. Rebecca looked in the mirror and casually said, "I heard you opened a restaurant in Prue City." Fang Hao was slightly taken aback. It seemed Rebecca had arranged for someone to inquire about him. At the same time, he felt nervous, wondering if his act of pretending to be effeminate had been exposed. But soon, this worry in his heart was put aside. If it had been exposed, Rebecca would have reacted that it was likely that she had inquired from some merchants or someone, and had not conducted a detailed investigation. His role as a cloth merchant also didn't warrant sending spies to investigate. "Yes. How's the business?" Rebecca asked casually, as if chatting about everyday life. "Not bad. There are quite a few customers." "You are indeed a young man with ideas," Rebecca praised. Fang Hao was so young. Not only were his clothing designs novel and bold, but he also opened a successful restaurant. "Thank you for your praise, Madam Rebecca. If I open a store in Lysis in the future, I hope you will take care of me." Fang Hao replied politely. "All right, I can see that you are a capable young man. Lysis welcomes capable people." Rebecca continued to answer. "Thank you, madam. I wonder if there are any shops for sale in the commercial street. If there are, I would like to go and see today." Fang Hao said directly. The sooner the store opened, the better. He didn't want to delay any longer. Rebecca shifted her gaze from the mirror and looked at Fang Hao with curiosity. She didn't expect him to be in such a hurry, wanting to go and see the shop today. A maid walked over quickly. "Madam." "All right. You go and see if there are any shops for sale in the commercial street." "Yes, madam." The maid agreed and quickly retreated. The city lord's wife of Lysis City. Rebecca possessed conveniences that Fang Hao did not. Those cunning merchants, no matter how bold they were, would not dare to provoke the city lord's mansion, let alone a woman. Seeing the maid leave, Fang Hao thanked her again. "Thank you, Madam Rebecca. It's nothing, just a small matter. I also hope you can open a store in Lysis City, which will be more convenient then," Rebecca said with a smile. The two continued to chat about clothing design. Before long, the maid returned again. After bowing again, she said, "Madam, there is a shop on the commercial street that has been registered for sale at the city lord's mansion." "All right, you can take him to see it later," Rebecca said. The sample dress made Rebecca very satisfied, which put her in a very good mood. Naturally, she was willing to help Fang Hao with this small favor. The maid served her in taking off the sample dress, folded it neatly, and handed it to Fang Hao. "Goodbye, Madam Rebecca. When the finished dress is made, I will send it to you," Fang Hao said softly. Rebecca smiled and nodded, then lazily sat back down in the rocking chair. The maid led Fang Hao out of the city lord's mansion. Outside the gate, and Jia, who had been waiting, was eating pastries she had bought from the roadside. Seeing Fang Hao come out, She quickly followed. Where are we going now? To see the shop. What's wrong with your voice? It sounds so strange. And Jia asked curiously. Fang Hao glanced at the maid who was looking straight ahead and gave Jia a few hints with his eyes, telling her not to talk too much. The maid led them onto a carriage and headed towards the commercial street. Passing through street after street, the commercial street was bustling with people, with rows of shops and many small stalls and vendors. The carriage stopped in the central area, and the three of them got off. Mr. Fang Hao, this is the registered shop. It used to be a very successful tavern. The maid said the building in front of them was a three-story stone building. This row of shops had a unified specification and architectural style. Then, why didn't it continue operating? Due to some special reasons, the owner of this shop was arrested, and the shop is being sold by the city lord's mansion. The maid took out the key and opened the door of the shop. Fang Hao and Jia entered the shop and started looking around. The items inside the shop had already been moved out, leaving behind a mess of things on the floor from the counter full of sundries. He pulled out a piece of paper similar to a poster, on which was a colorful naked female figure, striking a pose that made blood rush. That it seemed that the business this shop had operated before was quite extensive. I'll take this shop. Fang Hao's straightforward agreement still caused the maid to pause slightly, even though she was following her mistress's orders to bring this young cloth merchant to see the shop. She had never thought in her heart that he would actually buy it. This was one of Lysis's 3 most prosperous commercial streets, and the price of shops here had been inflated to astronomical levels that a personal maid to the city lord's wife, like her, had an enviable job and treatment. She would also have to live to over 500 years old without eating or drinking to afford one. And that's assuming property prices didn't rise. Are there any procedures needed? Fang Hao asked again. The stunned maid immediately recovered and asked in a confirming tone, Sir, are you sure you want to buy this shop? The price recorded by the city lord's manor is 700,000 gold coins. When she said 700,000, the maid's voice trembled slightly. This was simply a terrifying number, and only those long-established merchant houses or families would spend so much money to open a shop here. Can I get a discount? Fang Hao asked. Sir, I'm not entirely sure about that. Perhaps you could ask my mistress, the maid said. You can use Warfire cards here, right? Yes, you can. Then let's go. Take me to complete the procedures. Fang Hao led Jia out of the shop, and only then did the maid let out a belated and followed them out. Is this young cloth merchant really that rich? He just took a simple, casual look and decided to buy it. She had seen many nobles and wealthy merchants, but she had never seen anyone like Fang Hao, who would calmly spend hundreds of thousands of gold coins so quickly. The three of them got back into the carriage, and at the place where properties were registered in the city lord's manor, they bought the shop's deed. From now on, this shop belonged to Fang Hao. The maid's job was done, and she was no longer needed to guide them. After a slight bow, she bid farewell to Fang Hao and Jia, returning to the shop. He took out his key and opened it. This was his second shop. What do you plan to do? Jia said, kicking a wooden cup near her foot like someone with hyperactivity. It made clattering sounds as it hit things. A hot pot restaurant. First to recoup some money, he replied. Unlike the clothing and accessories industries, opening a hot pot restaurant was simple and yielded quick results. They just needed to clean up the shop, transport the soup base prepared by ear, and then they could officially open for business. Furthermore, given the scarcity of food in this era, hot pot was very popular, affordable even for commoners, and tasted very good. That's true. Clatter, clatter. The kicked wooden cup still made rolling sounds, as if it was going down the stairs continuously. The two exchanged a glance and walked towards the area where the wooden cup had rolled, behind the stairs. The two discovered a downward entrance. The wooden cup had fallen down from here, making the collision sounds. The opening was dim inside, likely the shop's basement or storage area. Fang Hao took out a luminous stone lantern from the Lord's book, bent down, and extended the lantern into the basement entrance. The soft light of the luminous stone illuminated the basement. It was cold, empty, and carried a somewhat musty smell. After confirming there was no danger inside, he opened all the covers and walked down the wooden stairs. What's that smell? Jia complained, covering her nose. There was indeed a musty smell. It should be the wine cellar from the previous tavern. Now that you mention it, I feel like I don't want to drink alcohol for a month, and Jia said. Hanging the lantern on the ceiling illuminated the surrounding space. This was indeed a wine cellar, with traces left behind after the wine barrels were moved. After a simple search here, he actually found 5 essence of wine, which was an unexpected gain. Fang Hao, there's a Merchant Alliance mailbox here. And Jia exclaimed from not far away, Merchant Alliance mailbox? Where are you? Fang Hao asked. Jia walked out and led Fang Hao to a small room isolated by a hidden door. The room wasn't big, with a wooden table in the center and a black mailbox with a sickle hook pattern. This was not the Merchant Alliance symbol, but the faceless man's HUT'd, in other words. This place outwardly operated as a tavern, but was also an intelligence branch of the faceless man's hut, transmitting the information gathered. Perhaps what the maid said about being arrested was also because of this matter. After all forces would buy intelligence from the faceless men, but at the same time, they were very repulsed by them. Is it the Merchant Alliance? It's the faceless man's hut, an organization that buys and sells information. Fang Hao explained. The items in the desk had all been cleared out, leaving only debris on the floor. But Fang Hao still found a letter burned down to just a corner among the miscellaneous items that it read. Capture transmigrators. Send to. The part after send to was also burned, but these few words instantly made Fang Hao's brows furrow. Only people like them understood the meaning of the word transmigrator. Even if the natives understood they were outsiders, they wouldn't use this word. Either a transmigrator said it themselves, or some special method was used to understand the meaning of this word. In an instant, Fang Hao thought of the witch he had met before, holding a crystal ball, since magic and undead both existed. Some methods of searching memories wouldn't seem strange. Is there a problem? And Jia asked softly, seeing Fang Hao standing aside with a frown. It's not a big problem. Call our people over to do a simple cleanup first. Okay. The two climbed out following the stairs, called over the greatsword infantry waiting at the inn, and moved all the useless junk out of the shop to discard. The next day at dusk, Fang Hao and his group returned to Prool City. The Laodishuang hot pot restaurant was a bit deserted today. It was dinner time, but there wasn't a single customer in the shop. Why isn't there anyone here? Fang Hao asked. Xiao Bai's face was full of worry, and she apologized. I'm sorry, master. I don't know what happened today. Suddenly, no one came. The few rabbit maids beside her also lowered their heads. You said suddenly? Yes. The number of people coming started decreasing from yesterday afternoon, and today not a single customer has come, Xiao Bai said. This was a bit strange in this era, for a shop to suddenly have no customers, unless someone was poisoned to death in the shop. This situation shouldn't happen. Do you know the reason? Not very clear. It's okay. I'll go ask at the tavern across the street. If there aren't many customers, you can get off work early and rest, Fang Hao said, comforting them. Oh, okay, master. Leaving the shop, Fang Hao went directly to the Rose Tavern across the street, similar to the situation at the hot pot restaurant. There were no customers in the tavern. The proprietress was also sitting there listlessly. Why is it so deserted today? Fang Hao sat down at the counter. The proprietress glanced at him and sighed heavily, but she still got up and poured 2 glasses of beer, placing them in front of Fang Hao and Jia. I'm afraid it will be even more deserted in the future. Huh? What? The proprietress glanced around cautiously and said softly, I heard there's going to be a war. Everyone in the city is worried. Who's still in the mood to come out and drink? War? Don't be ridiculous. They can't even wipe out mountain bandits. Who would they fight? Fang Hao said, finding it hard to believe. Prool was a small city. The last 2 times with the mountain bandits and firewolf mercenaries. It was Fang Hao who stepped in and eliminated them. Now, saying Prool would have a war. He didn't believe it. The proprietress looked at Fang Hao and said seriously, fighting the undead in the north. Starting this morning, everyone with money and power has left. Only, hearing the landlady's words, Fang Hao's eyes instantly narrowed. The undead to the north, isn't that me? He had established a fortress in the middle position with Prool, which could be said to prevent each other from being interfered with. He had already done enough. What was this Cyril up to attack him? Why? Did Cyril have a brain fart? Fang Hao directly spoke the city lord's name. Cursing. This sound made the landlady and others instantly tense, and they were relieved only after discovering that there was no one else around, even behind their backs. They didn't dare to scold the current city lord. How would we know? But many people came to the city yesterday, which may be related. What kind of people? Very similar to those people wearing hoods in broad daylight last time. Each one like a cultist, the landlady said. Blood clan. Fang Hao knew that the cultists in the landlady's mouth were those thin bloods. Although they could walk in the sun, they had begun to hate the sunlight and wore huge hoods all day long to cover their bodies. Because of Giovanni's matter, the Blood Clan had arranged scouts to investigate him. However, what does this have to do with Pearl City, and what role does Cyril play in it? Do you still mean what you said last time? The landlady suddenly turned around, her eyes staring straight at him. What did I say? Fang Hao's thoughts were interrupted. My tavern can't stay open anymore, so I'll come and help you. The landlady's expression was a little bitter. After running it for so many years, she never thought there would be a day when she couldn't keep it open. Sure, Fang Hao's shop in Lixia City was preparing manpower, and she was a good candidate. I have quite a few people. The landlady looked at the bartender and the few people in the back kitchen. When the bartenders saw Fang Hao's gaze, several of them respectfully bowed to him. You can all come together. Fang Hao nodded. Everyone was overjoyed. Fang Hao was a rich second generation, and if they clung to this thigh, they wouldn't have to worry about whether the tavern business was good or not. Anyway, Fang Hao would pay them, just when everyone, including the landlady, breathed a sigh of relief. Fang Hao spoke again. However, as the leader, I need you to sign a slave contract with me to ensure that you will not betray me. The landlady and the bartender's smiles instantly disappeared. They had seen slave contracts before. When slave traders sold slaves, they would produce the contract to ensure that the slaves would not do anything to harm their masters. Similarly, if you signed it, you would have to listen to the other party, even if it meant doing something against your will. Are you serious? I'm just going to help you run the shop, the landlady said in surprise. She would need to sign a slave contract just to work a job. This was indeed a bit too much. I can't help it. I need someone I can completely trust, Fang Hao said helplessly. His secrets couldn't be revealed, especially since he had discovered the Faceless One's hut under the tavern yesterday. He should be even more careful. Okay, it seems we can't cooperate, the landlady said with a wry smile. She refused Fang Hao. She was unwilling to sell herself for this little thing. Similarly, she guessed at Fang Hao's words in her heart. Fang Hao was a rich second generation, and his family should have relatively strict rules. Nobles always have some strange rules that they can't understand. It doesn't matter. Even if we can't cooperate, we are still friends. You can come to me if you have any difficulties, Fang Hao said with a smile. Okay. After drinking the beer in his glass, Fang Hao left the tavern with Jia. Returning to the shop, he took all the maids and soldiers, closed the shop, and returned to the territory together. Returning to the territory, the sky had already darkened. After eating the dinner prepared by Yer, Fang Hao sent the sample clothes to the tailor. Rebecca was very satisfied with the sample clothes. Some insignificant minor modifications could be added during the production of the finished product, and the gold carver was also making the matching jewelry. Everything had been explained, and there was nothing for Fang Hao to do. He just had to wait for the finished product to come out and give it to Rebecca. The next day, morning, after eating breakfast, Fang Hao and Jia, Dimika, and others rode on the bone dragons, and behind them, there were 10 more bone dragons, fully loaded with skeleton trolls and desolate grave guards, soaring into the clouds and heading south. Today, they were going to Fang Hao's newly acquired map mountain stronghold. The name stronghold sounded more high-end than something like a cave or a cavern, hoping that it could give him some powerful items above the clouds. Without having to worry about the towns below, they headed straight towards the stronghold in the shortest distance. According to the map, the mountain stronghold was located in the middle of Pearl City and Lixia City. Slightly to the east, a 2-hour journey, the team had already arrived above the uninhabited mountains. The bone dragons lowered their altitude and gradually approached the target point. Some traces of stone brick buildings left behind could be seen. As they continued to move forward, Fang Hao also saw the target point this time. mountain stronghold that it could even be said that this stronghold was not difficult to find. There was a huge downward entrance between the mountain rocks in front of the entrance. Piles of white bones could be seen, traces of blood left behind, and a huge iron pot stewing food. But there was no sign of any living creatures. The bone dragons landed in front of the entrance, and Fang Hao and the others jumped off the bone dragons. What kind of creatures use such a big pot? And Jia asked from the side. She hadn't paid much attention in the air, but after landing, she realized how huge the iron pot was. Jia's height was only half the height of the iron pot. We'll know when we go down and take a look. Those guys should be living here. Fang Hao looked at the depths of the entrance. The stone steps at the entrance continued downwards, and the mountain walls on both sides were carved flat. It was indeed a good place to live. Dimika, you command the team, and Jia and I will be at the back, Fang Hao said, casting an ice armor on himself. Due to the distance, Fang Hao didn't use divine descent. Coming in person reduced the consumption of mental power, but also faced life-threatening dangers. Yes, Lord. Dimika nodded and continued to say to the skeleton soldiers beside him. Skeleton trolls stand in the front row. Desolate grave guards stand in the back, prepare to enter the cave. The skeletons adjusting their formation began to enter the cave step by step. The team went deeper. Luminous stone wall lamps emitting a soft light began to appear on both sides of the mountain cave, illuminating the entire corridor. Huff. Snore. Not far away, thunderous snoring could be heard on a platform in front. A tall troll was lying on a beast skin blanket, snoring loudly. The snot bubble kept getting bigger and smaller with the snore. One-eyed troll, Tier 8. Dimika made a gesture to stop moving forward, and the skeleton team instantly stopped, motionless like clay sculptures. Dimika drew the long sword from his waist and slowly approached the sleeping troll. Dimiturga quickly walked to the side of the sleeping troll. The longsword in his hand was raised high. A cold glint sliced across its neck. Pop! As the snot bubble burst, the troll's head also rolled off. Fresh blood flowed out, and the troll opened its eyes wide, looking blankly at its body getting further and further away. My lord, we can continue forward, Dimiturga said softly, stepping on the rolling head. This proved that this place might have been a bunker before, but now it had been occupied by these one-eyed trolls and become one of their lairs. Let's continue forward. There should still be trolls below, Fang Hao said. Yes. Dimiturga waved his hand again, and the skeleton troops continued to advance. The stone steps continued downwards. On the landing, all sorts of weapons and armor were haphazardly piled. From the specifications of the equipment, it could be seen that it was equipment used by humans. It seemed that quite a few humans had also come here before Fang Hao and the others arrived, but the final outcome wasn't very good for them. The team continued downwards for a few minutes, then saw that the end of the stone steps opened up into a suddenly spacious area enclosed by stone walls. Ahead should be a large hall at the same time. In the hall, the coarse voices of trolls talking could faintly be heard. Dimiturga glanced at Fang Hao, who nodded slightly. Dimiturga took a deep breath. Pale blue energy could be seen gathering in his neck, and immediately after, he spat out a dense cloud of mist downwards, which quickly spread out. This was a very useful skill of Dimiturga. Mist canopy. Mist was most useful in this kind of enclosed place, as it could last for a longer time. The suddenly appearing mist caused no small amount of chaos among the trolls below, and sounds of angry roars came from them. Why is it getting foggy? I can't see. There are enemies. Everyone grab your weapons and go out to meet them. Where's my weapon? Who saw my weapon? Ow! This side is a wall. Ow! This side is also a wall. Damn it, I'm trapped. Below was a complete mess. Fang Hao and the others stood on the stone steps, only hearing the trolls' loud shouts, but not seeing a single one find the correct path to rush out. Kill! Dimiturga no longer waited. He gave a low shout and led all the skeleton soldiers to kill their way into the mist. The long sword in his hand swung out, severing the leg of a troll in front of him. Its body leaned forward and fell. The troll had just let out a painful wail when the long sword turned and pierced upwards through its chest cavity. Large gushes of fresh blood sprayed out at such a close distance. The troll also saw the enemy's appearance clearly, using its last breath. It shouted, "It's lizard men, they're lizard men." But its words were immediately corrected by other trolls. "It's undead. I saw them clearly, they're skeletons." The trolls shouted loudly and argued while fighting, making the entire hall as chaotic as a vegetable market in the central area today. One-eyed troll wearing heavy armor was swinging a huge metal-spiked club in its hand. The sound of whistling wind rose, and the surrounding mist also dispersed considerably with the airflow, but it was only briefly clear. After the airflow passed, the mist covered the area in front of it again. Whoosh. Swinging again, the mist thinned, but suddenly a person completely covered in golden armor appeared in front, from the huge tail exposed behind the opponent. It could be determined that it was a lizard man. Despicable crawling insects. You think by relying on these despicable methods, you can defeat us powerful warriors. The troll roared angrily, raising the black metal-spiked club in its hand and smashing it down towards the lizardman's head. Clang. An ear-piercing sound of metal clashing rang out. A burst of energy quickly spread out with the lizardman as the center, carrying the mist and causing it to roll in layers. The huge countershock force made the troll's hands feel a bit numb, but he never expected that he, who had the advantage in strength and size, would actually be taken head-on by the short lizard man. "In strength, you cannot possibly defeat me," the troll roared, raising the spiked club in its hand again and smashing it towards the lizard man. But when the spiked club fell, the lizard man shifted its feet, sidestepped, and dodged the frontal blow. The spiked club heavily struck the ground. The long sword in the lizardman's hand instantly swept upwards, and a cold glint passed through the troll's wrist. Clang. The spiked club, along with both arms, fell to the ground together. The troll wanted to shriek, wanted to roar, but the moment it opened its mouth, the lizard man leaped high again, and the long sword in its hand pierced through its mouth, painfully letting out a whimpering sound. More than 20 minutes later, the mist gradually began to disperse. The battle in the hall also gradually approached its end. When Demiturga finally killed the last one-eyed troll, the battle completely ended. Fang Hao walked down the stone steps and began to look around the space. The stone walls on both sides were neatly carved. Everywhere were beast hide blankets used by the trolls for sleeping, as well as some messy daily necessities that it seemed the trolls had been living here for a long time. In the central area of the hall, a simply constructed wooden table was placed. On the table were several small cloth bags. There were a full 12 of them. Fang Hao walked forward, opened the cloth bags. A desolate grave guard stepped forward, leaned the white steel greatsword in its hand against the wall, reached out, picked up a cloth bag, and opened it, and poured it onto the table. Clink. A thumb-sized ruby fell onto the table and rolled. Ruby. Category, or description, and or useless except for attracting mates. Confirming there was nothing dangerous or disgusting in the cloth bags, Fang Hao felt them one by one. They were hard. He opened them one by one and poured them onto the table. As expected, they were all colorful gems. Have trolls also started researching gems? Anya walked over from behind the one-eyed trolls. Attire was still very simple, simply wrapping fur around. Their bodies served as clothing. It was somewhat like the way people dressed in ancient Western movies and TV shows, where hanging curtains on their bodies counted as wearing clothes. They packed the gems in portions. "It looks like they were going to sell them," Fang Hao said. Collecting all the gems, what they planned to do before was no longer important. Now these were all his. It was perfect timing, as the goldsmiths had also reached the stage of selecting gems for jewelry. He would bring these back for them. Thud. With a muffled thud, 2 skeleton trolls carried over a silver treasure chest and threw it at Fang Hao's feet. The floor of the stone chamber already had pools of blood, and when it was smashed down, bright red blood splashed everywhere. Open it. Obtained. Giant spiked club manufacturing blueprint. Troll stone 22. War coin 25. Light appeared, but the reward was a bit too little. There was only one manufacturing blueprint, but 22 troll stones were rewarded, which could be used to recruit skeleton trolls. Giant spiked club. Green. Category. Spiked club damage. Tier 3 damage ability. Heavy blow. Heavy blow. The weapon is heavy. Each attack will double the damage. Description. Who doesn't like a giant club? Fang Hao had seen the latter two items before, so there was no need to examine them closely. He put the blueprint into his inventory and also stored the troll stone and war coins in his storage space. My lord, you are needed over here. Not far away, Dimite Jia spoke again. Fang Hao and Jia walked over and looked at the ground. Dimite Jia was pointing at. It was a stone wall, and a large amount of blood on the ground was flowing down through the cracks at the base of the wall. That a sewage outlet? Immediately after, Fang Hao rejected this idea. This did not fit the function of a sewage outlet. A single crack could easily be blocked by debris. It might be a gap between the original mountain and the wall from a secondary construction, or there might be a space behind the stone wall. Check it out and see if there's a way to open it, Fang Hao said. Everyone spread out and began searching for a way to open the stone door. Click. Dimite Jia applied a little force, and a light click came from a wall lamp nearby. Immediately following, there was the sound of gears and chains turning. The stone door in front of them was slowly opening. Little by little, unexpectedly, this was a mechanism. The stone door opened completely, revealing stone steps that continued downwards. The dark, downward steps seemed endless, as if leading to a subterranean abyss. Judging by the dust that scattered when the stone door opened, it was likely that even the trolls who had lived here before were unaware of this mechanism. Let's go down and take a look. The trolls have lived up here for so long. There shouldn't be too much of a problem, Fang Hao said softly. Dimite Jia nodded, reorganized the team, and began descending step by step. The team went down without encountering any danger along the way. After walking for 5 or 6 minutes, they saw another huge level area. This area was different from the trolls' level. It was piled with a large amount of old and damaged weapons and armor. Dust covered the weapons, and plants growing from the brick crevices climbed upwards along the rotten weapon racks. It seemed more like an underground armory here. Dimite Jia wanted to go forward and examine it. Clatter, clatter. The sound of bones colliding echoed, and scattered skeletons slowly climbed up, forming skeleton warriors. They picked up the corroded and blunted weapons from the ground. Skeleton warrior, tier 4, few. Seeing that they were just ordinary skeleton soldiers, Fang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. These familiar enemies made him feel slightly safer. Quick battle, Fang Hao said. Yes, my lord. Dimite Jia raised his sword and led the skeleton soldiers forward to attack. The battle didn't last too long before all the skeletons present were cleared out. The team began collecting the rotten weapons and equipment. They could be melted down and remade by the blacksmiths after returning. In the corner, there was still a silver treasure chest. Fang Hao opened it without hesitation. Obtained War Cave Construction Blueprint, Shadow Stone X12. War Coins X33. Level 1 War Cave Category. Special Building Maximum Capacity, 10,000. Construction Requirements. Wood 1,500. Stone 3,200. Iron 520. Metal Parts 80. Description: soldiers can be hidden here to achieve strategic objectives. War Cave? This was a good building. Undead were his main force. But he also had to consider the impact on living creatures if war caves were established for the troops stationed in various places. A large number of soldiers could be stationed in the war caves. This could solve many problems. Large amounts of weapons and equipment were collected. Fang Hao, with a testing mindset, pulled the wall lamp above. Click. The familiar sound of the mechanism triggering echoed again. There really was one. Dimite Jia and Jia also looked towards the stone door at the same time. As the stone door slowly opened, a damp and warm feeling rushed out. Continue exploring the next level. We can organize this equipment on the way back, Fang Hao said, looking at the corridor leading to the next level. Okay. Dimite Jia consolidated the team, and everyone walked down to the next level again. About halfway down, the stone walls on both sides began to change. They were no longer the originally smooth, excavated stone walls, but became rough, uneven mountain walls. The path downwards also became more difficult to traverse. Continuing downwards, finally, a partially excavated underground palace appeared before everyone. In the center of the underground palace was a huge natural pool of water, bubbling and rolling. Groups of skeleton warriors climbed up from the ground. Hundreds of skeleton heads stiffly rotated. looking at Fang Hao and the other outsiders at the entrance. Immediately after, the skeletons let out silent roars, raised the weapons in their hands, and launched an attack towards the staircase. Kill! Dim-Eye Jia let out a low shout and led the skeleton trolls and grave guards to charge up. Fang Hao gripped his staff tightly, with a flash of light. 3 wood servants condensed in front of him as soon as the wood servants appeared. They immediately cast the entangle skill. Countless vines grew from the cracks in the stone, wrapping around the ankles of the enemy skeletons and binding them in place. Dim-Eye Jia and Njia also didn't miss this opportunity, using it to kill large numbers of enemies. The battle lasted for nearly an hour. Below the stone steps where Fang Hao and the others had held their ground, the area was already filled with bones. They were like standing on a mountain of bones, recovering their stamina. Now Fang Hao also experienced how annoying the undead's human wave tactics were. Although their rank wasn't high, they just didn't give you a chance to catch your breath. They attacked continuously, rushing forward without stopping. My lord, they've all been eliminated. There are no more enemies. Dim-Eye Jia sent a skeleton troll to scout the area, and no other enemies appeared. They won this battle. But Fang Hao's side also lost a significant number of personnel. They had brought over 100 skeleton soldiers, and now only about 30 were left. Okay, clean up the battlefield. This should be the last level, Fang Hao said. This level was clearly only half built, meaning it was the final level. Clean up the battlefield. Clear the path, Dim-Eye Jia ordered loudly. The skeletons began to act, pushing the bones blocking the path aside, clearing a way down. Fang Hao walked down the stone steps, but did not approach the steaming pool. He hadn't used divine presence yet, so it was better not to take risks. Soon, the skeleton trolls carried a golden treasure chest and placed it in front of Fang Hao. Not bad. It was a golden treasure chest here. Open it. Obtained. Hot Spring Construction Blueprint. Heart of Heroes X2, Heroes Voucher, Blue, X1. Shadowstone X24, War Coins X75. A hot spring blueprint appeared. Fang Hao's gaze fell back on the pool of water nearby. Could this be a hot spring? Why would Undead need a hot spring? No wonder the bones of those skeletons just now had green moss growing on them. Given more time, they might even grow mushrooms. All right, take down all the phosphorescent stones around and leave with the spoils, Fang Hao called out loudly. Following Fang Hao's instructions, the skeleton soldiers removed the luminous stones from the cave walls and retreated step by step to the second level. They continued to carry the large amount of decaying equipment from the second level, retreating all the way back to the first level at the entrance. The corpses of the Cyclops giants still lay on the ground, and the stone cave was filled with a strong smell of blood. Deal with the corpses, then pack them up and take them back. The skeletons carried the giants' corpses out of the cave and piled them up. The bone dragon's death breath enveloped the corpses. The flesh fell off, turning into a pile of white bones on the ground. Fang Hao's storage space was already full of weapons and equipment, and a large portion still needed to be carried back by the bone dragon, tying up all the spoils of war in large and small bundles. Everyone climbed onto the dragon's back. The bone dragon flapped its wings and flew towards the territory. The bone dragon flew rapidly. Fang Hao's gaze fell downwards, and he saw a stockade the size of a matchbox. That was where Hui Xiong was located. He had come here before with the mercenaries when he was a skeleton sparrow. Fang Hao's eyes flickered, and he had a plan in mind that he lightly patted the bone dragon's neck, and it immediately changed direction, tucking in its wings and swooping down. Inside the Hui Xiong stockade to the chieftain's hall, Hui Xiong sat on a chair with a stern expression. Opposite her sat a burly man in heavy armor. The man was the leader of another bandit camp, and everyone called him Ming Lang. The origin of the name came from stories circulating among the bandits. He was said to be the messenger of the god of death in the human world, and anyone who became his enemy would suffer endless torment even after death. Of course, Hui Xiong didn't believe these stories. Bandits and robbers would often give themselves fierce-sounding names, just like her own Hui Xiong, grizzly bear, and the claim that she could transform into a giant bear when angry. These were all used to deceive the villagers and bandits down the mountain. What the hell are you talking about? Are you saying you saw my troops were insufficient and the stockade was about to fall with your ass? Hui Xiong cursed loudly from her chair. Humph. Hui Xiong, don't be shameless. I'm giving you face by proposing a marriage alliance so we can manage this stockade together. With your small number of people, if I attack and take it, you and the stockade will still be mine. The man's face also darkened. The news that the Hui Xiong stockade was ambushed while plundering a caravan had spread. Those bandits who had no place to stay due to the Lisis army's encirclement had all set their sights on this place. In the past 2 days, many bandit scouts had appeared around, observing Hui Xiong's situation. Take it down? Do you dare say that with just you? Hui Xiong sneered mockingly, but her heart was already sinking. She knew the situation of the stockade clearly. Once a fight broke out, her side would surely lose. But she was still unwilling to give up her stockade. At least, she was unwilling to lose to this man in front of her. Bang! The man slammed his fist heavily on the table and instantly roared. I'm not here to ask for your opinion. I want to be the bandit leader of this area. I want to be the wolf king of this area. The man had his own ambition. He wanted to use this opportunity to unite all the scattered bandits and become their leader. Hui Xiong was startled by the man's sudden outburst and unconsciously reached for her weapon nearby. The man narrowed his eyes, looking at the woman in front, and said coldly, I'm giving you one last chance. Either agree or die here. Hui Xiong saw the man's subordinates had already approached the door. As long as she dared to shake her head, that subordinate would immediately rush out and order an attack. Hui Xiong's eyes grew increasingly dark. She had been deceived by this man. She feared that the people she had recently taken in were all spies he had arranged, all for the sake of negotiating with her today. Hui Xiong's eyes changed rapidly. Aleph *******. Before she could finish speaking, screams of terror and chaos suddenly came from outside. It's the bone dragon. The undead are attacking. Quickly hide. The door was knocked open, and a bandit stumbled and fell in. Boss, the undead are attacking us. Quickly hide. Hui Xiong and Ming Lang's eyes narrowed, and they quickly walked out of the house, only to see huge bone dragons landing around the stockade. Tall undead soldiers sat on their backs. The leather packages were filled with white bones. What exactly was going on? The bone dragon's huge white bone claws crushed the stockade's wooden wall. A black-haired human scanned the bandits below and said coldly, If you don't want to die, send your leader out. The hiding bandits instantly looked towards the chieftain's hall in unison. Hui Xiong swallowed hard, looked at Ming Lang beside her. The stockade is yours, you go out. Damn it. Don't talk nonsense. They're looking for you. Go quickly. We're about to have a marriage alliance. Aren't you a man? Let me go out. Don't say that. We're not that close. Fang Hao's gaze fell on the chieftain's hall in the middle, and he saw Hui Xiong hiding inside. That he said coldly, Hui Xiong, do you want to die? As her name was called out, an invisible pressure instantly enveloped Hui Xiong. It was as if a pair of invisible hands were tightly gripping her heart, making every beat difficult. Boss, ask him what he wants. A subordinate beside her tugged at Hui Xiong's sleeve. Hui Xiong instantly sobered up, suppressing the tension in her heart, and asked, Esteemed sir, what is it you need from me? A week ago, you robbed my caravan. How should we settle this matter? Fang Hao looked directly at Hui Xiong. She frowned, recalling what happened a week ago. The only battle a week ago was robbing the cloth merchant, and she even lost half of her brothers. She hadn't dealt with any undead. Sir, we didn't. That's not. I'll give you a chance, surrender to me, and I can spare your lives. Fang Hao directly interrupted Hui Xiong's explanation. Hui Xiong understood. Whether she had robbed an undead caravan a week ago was no longer important, and the other party never intended to listen to her explanation. His goal was to make her and her people surrender to him. Hui Xiong hesitated for a moment. Unlike the bandits who wanted to occupy the stockade, the pressure brought by the undead was even more intense, and the fear of death surrounded her. She still had over 80 people left, facing 10 bone dragons and the tall skeleton warriors on their backs. How many people would dare to rush out? Probably not many. She glanced at Ming Lang beside her, who immediately avoided her gaze, rather than letting other bandits occupy her stockade. It was better to take a gamble on the undead. Sir, my subordinates and I are willing to surrender to you, and we hope you won't make things difficult for us. Hui Xiong knelt on one knee, placing her weapon on the ground. Good. Fang Hao dismounted the bone dragon, with Njia and Dimi Te Jia guarding his sides. Sign this. From now on, this place will serve as a transit point to Lisa's city, and you will be responsible for the safety of the caravans along the way. Fang Hao found a blank slave contract in the Lord's book. Hui Xiong looked at Fang Hao, then at Njia and Dimi Te Jia. When her gaze fell on Dimi Te Jia, her pupils suddenly contracted. That it really was that cloth merchant's team. She had a deep impression of this lizard man in the mist last time. Damn the Iron Blood mercenary group. They really screwed her over. Yes, sir. Hui Xiong bit her finger and pressed her fingerprint on the slave contract. The light of the contract enveloped Hui Xiong, and the rules would restrict her actions. Human warrior read. Current loyalty 65. Grizzly's loyalty is only 65 points, which isn't high, but it's normal. Those who were forcibly bound by a contract through force don't have high loyalty at first, but it will slowly increase over time. There's no need to worry about this. Grizzly's name is Reed, which is also a relatively neutral name. Perhaps Grizzly thinks that a male name is more suitable for her identity. At the same time, the Lord's Book also sent a confirmation option for an affiliated village. Grizzly Mountain Stronghold has become your affiliated village. You can name the village here and control all resources within the village. After that, Fang Hao didn't do any extra operations and directly closed the Lord's Book. Let's go inside and talk. Sitting in the hall, Fang Hao's gaze fell on the underworld wolf beside him. You are. Underworld wolf, who was pretending to be invisible, felt his heart tighten. Just as he showed a fawning smile, Grizzly spoke first. He is the leader of another camp and wants to be the wolf king here. Beads of sweat the size of beans instantly appeared on Underworld Wolf's forehead. He laughed awkwardly and explained, "What Wolf King, my lord? You can just call me Puppy, just Puppy." Fang Hao was a little confused. Heroes having prefixes is a symbol of their strength and characteristics. Why are these bandits giving themselves nicknames? First Grizzly, then Puppy, and calling himself Puppy isn't very imposing. All right, you don't need to leave either. From now on, you will be under Grizzly's management and run this camp, Fang Hao said. I still have something to do, my lord. What's more important than your life? Fang Hao took out a slave contract and handed it to Grizzly. Have him sign the slave contract. This contract was not signed under Fang Hao's name, but under Grizzly's name. This would also allow her to manage this stronghold better. Grizzly, how many people do you have under you? 89 people, Grizzly replied. This was the actual number, not the number reported to deceive other bandits. Puppy, what about you? My lord, I have over 200 people. Good. From now on, you are no longer bandits, and you are not allowed to rob passing merchant caravans. Then what will we do from now on? Grizzly asked curiously. Besides robbing, they didn't know how to do anything else. You will first develop as a normal village, and then I will assign you tasks, Fang Hao said. Oh, all right, my lord. Also, if anything about the undead is leaked, don't blame me for being impolite, Fang Hao warned coldly again. The suffocating sense of oppression once again enveloped the two of them. We will definitely arrange it well. Definitely arrange it well, the two said quickly. Good. Leave this with you. I will notify you if there are any tasks. Fang Hao handed a skeleton gray sparrow to Grizzly. The latter held the palm-sized bird bones. Somewhat unclear about Fang Hao's meaning, but not daring to ask more, he could only subconsciously nod in agreement. Oh, all right. All right. You should hold a meeting with everyone. This is no longer a stronghold. It's called Grizzly Village. All right. All right. Grizzly gathered all the bandits for a meeting. While Fang Hao wandered around the stronghold, bandit camps and strongholds are not usually managed with much care. After all, they don't know when they might be surrounded and wiped out by the army, and they might even abandon the stronghold directly. But now it's different. The location of Grizzly Village is right in the middle of Lysis City, and Fillet Fishing Village. It needs to be built up. At least for now. Fang Hao came to the open space next to the leader's hall and opened the Lord's Book. He found the construction blueprint for the Necromancer's Tower. Choose to build. Purple light appeared, slowly constructing a tall, towering tower. The Necromancer's Tower can increase his divine presence skill. If he gets blueprints for nearby mountain redoubts in the future, he won't have to go there himself. After building the Necromancer's Tower, Fang Hao continued to upgrade the city walls and set up defense towers and some defensive measures. Half an hour passed, and the original wooden mountain stronghold had become a small fortress. My lord, I have already given the instructions. No one will mention anything about the undead. Grizzly walked over. Fang Hao nodded, mounted the bone dragon again, looked at Grizzly, and said, "Do well. You wouldn't want to be bandits your whole lives, right? Seize this opportunity and give yourselves a new future." After speaking, he lightly patted the bone dragon's neck. The bone dragon flapped its wings and soared into the sky again, disappearing from sight with the other bone dragons. Everyone in the stronghold stared blankly at the sky. If the stronghold hadn't changed its appearance and that tall tower was still standing, everyone would probably have thought they had a dream where people of 3 different races brought the undead and directly occupied the stronghold. This time, the bone dragon didn't stop and returned directly to the territory. The bones of the trolls were sent to the conversion ground, and piles of equipment were also sent to the warehouse to be repaired or remelted after the blacksmiths selected them. Ear was preparing dinner. Hidden soldier cave and hot spring. He hadn't decided where to build the hidden soldier cave yet, but the hot spring could be built. He could also enjoy it and relax. Hot spring, 800 stone bricks, 300 stone slabs, 1 ordinary water well, 2 red flame essence, 1 trace of spring water. Description: a comfortable hot spring might allow you to relax. The water well will disappear automatically after being occupied and can be rebuilt separately. Rejuvenating hot spring, 1,000 stone bricks, 500 stone slabs, 1 rejuvenating spring well, 3 red flame essence, 2 magic essence, 1 trace of spring water. Description: a hot spring built from a rejuvenating spring. Soaking can restore mental strength and enhance physique. The rejuvenating spring will disappear automatically after being occupied and can be rebuilt separately. There were 2 versions of the hot spring. One was a hot spring built based on an ordinary water well. The other was a rejuvenating hot spring built from a rejuvenating spring, which had the effect of restoring mental power and enhancing physique. The rejuvenating spring itself had the effect of restoring mental strength and enhancing physique. However, in the territory, only Fang Hao was willing to drink it. Even Anya, the maid, wouldn't drink the rejuvenating spring just because she was thirsty. Most of it was sold in the channel in exchange for some resources. If it was built into a rejuvenating hot spring, then this concern could be resolved. As long as you soaked in the bath, the effect of the original rejuvenating spring would be increased. Moreover, after being occupied by the hot spring, a new rejuvenating spring well could be built, so neither would be delayed. Fang Hao had plenty of materials that he had the maid scoop out all the rejuvenating spring water from the rejuvenating spring well at once and put it into containers. He continued to the garden behind the Lord's mansion, selected an empty space, and chose to build the rejuvenating hot spring. Light flickered, and a hot spring gradually took shape. Neatly laid stone bricks formed a pool, and pale blue hot spring water slowly flowed out, emitting an amber glow under the moonlight. Fang Hao, dinner is ready. Anya ran over excitedly, her eyes widening as she looked at the hot spring that suddenly appeared in the backyard, a fish pond.